Have you ever found yourself face-to-face with a task that seemed impossible? I certainly have. And I want to tell you about how artificial intelligence gave me the superpowers I needed to overcome the impossible at breakneck speed. Over winter holidays, I found myself faced with a pile of data to manually code. I just run co-design sprints with customers to generate use case ideas for technology my team was developing. And after 6 multi-participant focus group sessions, I had over 1,500 user-generated ideas. The volume was remarkable. It showed just how engaged our customers were in helping us solve problems for them. But the volume also posed a threat. The team needed to decide on what to build by the end of the day, which means that I needed to figure out a way to reduce down that pile of ideas into a shorter list that my team could use to make the decision. And worse, I need to do that in just a couple of hours. The thought of doing that manually was ridiculous to even consider. Humans simply don't have the working memory required to invent a coding system and apply it to that amount of data that quickly. But I had a special skill in my back pocket. I just taught myself to code in Python so I could build AI tools for myself. So I had a thought. What if AI could do this task for me? I set to work, but within just 20 minutes, I had built a tool that had distilled the mountain of 1,500 ideas down to a short list of 54 concise, clear, and well-written use cases. Holding that list, I found myself heave a sigh of relief. Doing that manually would have been tedious and error-prone, but with AI, it was quick and effortless. Faced with these new superpowers, yes, it was exciting, but I also felt myself awash with terror. What did this mean for my future? Would this reduce the value of skills I'd worked so hard to learn? Or worse, take away the job I'd loved? Hi, I'm Savina Hawkins. I'm a UX researcher in artificial intelligence. I have over 10 years of experience working in user research across both the applied and academic domains. The last 7 years I've spent developing a specialization in AI by working on workflow automation products and AI agents. A lot of those 7 years spent working directly in AI labs or supporting data scientists to develop breakthrough models. As one of only 100 or so user researchers in the world actively working in AI labs, I have a special front row seat to the development of artificial intelligence. And today I'm here to share with you what I've learned about artificial intelligence and how it will impact our field as researchers. To do that, we're going to discuss 3 things. First, we'll talk about artificial intelligence and large language models. We'll define what they are, why they're so revolutionary, and what they can and can't do today. Then we'll talk about 3 big changes that are coming out of the labs or that are just starting to get productized as tools. And lastly, we'll apply this information to our workflow so we can get a sense of what's about to unfold and how it's going to impact our jobs as a result. Before we get started, like most of us watching this, I'm a user researcher too, and I am both excited and terrified by this future I'm about to share with you. So I want to leave you with 3 key takeaways that have brought me comfort during this period of rapid change. First, as AI inevitably grows in skills, it will eventually become one of our smartest, most talented research colleagues. But that doesn't mean that it's gunning for your job. Instead, I'd like to leave you with the inspiration to start collaborating with AI so that you can get research superpowers, some of which we'll discuss today. This last year, we were all amazed by OpenAI's ChatGPT. Some of us love it, some of us hate it, but all of us know it is a household name. As someone working in these labs, I know that ChatGPT is just the tip of the iceberg of what these technologies have to offer the world. Also, it's important to note that AI and large language models are related, but they're not actually the same thing. AI is a broad field that encompasses a variety of techniques that automate tasks that would normally require human intelligence. Large language models are a specialized subfield within it, machine learning models that specialize in processing and understanding text. Large language models are a type of neural net that are trained on vast amounts of text data. Generally speaking, all machine learning models work by making statistically likely predictions based off of given input and the learnings that they've extracted from their training data set. Large language models are no different, except that in order to do this, they actually first convert that text into strings of numbers that they use to understand the statistical patterns in between words and phrases and concepts. And then they use those statistical patterns to actually generate new output. And this is really how they get their superpowers of generating new content that's in a similar style and format to things that they've seen in their training data. So here on the screen, you can see an example of a user requesting a poem that's about traffic lights. So here the AI model is calling upon its understanding of poetry, which is usually structured in stanzas, to produce the structure of the content. And it's calling upon its understanding of traffic lights to generate all of the content that you see that fills in the poem. But just because they have some incredible language generating abilities does not mean that they're good at everything. As a standalone technology, we've seen large language models do all sorts of not great things, such as generate factually incorrect or biased responses, and sometimes even struggle with what we as humans would consider to be some pretty basic reasoning tasks. Just because large language models are incredible at generating text, this actually doesn't mean that they have the same language and understanding abilities that humans do. When we look at large language models, we want to feel like we're looking into a mirror of our own intelligence, and it's because so much of humanity communicates to each other and communicates knowledge through the interface of language. Large language models do have these really impressive text generating abilities, but as a standalone technology, it actually doesn't have all of the facilities that you as a human call upon when you write meaningfully. When you write, you think about your practical skills, your context, your information that you've gained from being an embodied human in the world. And you also use all sorts of practical skills like arithmetic, fact-checking, and understanding of truth that then produces the output when you write meaningfully. Large language models simply aren't doing this. They're just regurgitating statistically likely output given certain inputs and what's in their training data. But this is all about to change very quickly. So I'm going to tell you about 3 important changes that are coming out of the labs. First, bigger, better, and cheaper models, techniques that allow language models to harness self-reflexive reasoning, and language models that actually can use other tools to gain those practical skills that they lack today. Let's start with language models getting better over time. The test-taking abilities of large language models are improving shockingly rapidly. As you can see in blue, that's the test-taking abilities of GPT-3, which was released in 2020. In green, you can see the test-taking abilities of GPT-4, which was released in March of this year. In just 3 years, you can see a marked increase in almost every area of intelligence, which means that over time, as more companies invest more and more money into this space and develop larger and larger models, we'll see these models reaching higher and higher levels of linguistic intelligence. What this means is over time, these models will graduate from where they are today, which is about the level of intelligence of a college grad, to inevitably PhD level intelligence, and then inevitably beyond that. What this makes me believe is that in the future, linguistic intelligence will no longer be a skill that humans have to fight hard and hone to learn. Instead, it will be a sort of new public utility of the AI age, and instead will become a tool that you can buy off of a digital shelf. The next update is the use of self-reflexive reasoning in large language models. Anthropic has developed a fantastic new reinforcement learning paradigm that actually harnesses a constitution, which is a set of values or ethical principles that are actually used to train the chatbots to show up in ways that are more socially and emotionally intelligent and aware. We won't go into the actual training process that fuels this innovation, but suffice it to say that I would both expect and demand that all AI systems in the future are required to use this or similar training paradigms so that they can ensure that they're not only harmless, but that they actually have pro-social impacts on the humans that interact with them. This, of course, holds a lot of promise for a harm-free future for AI, but it also leads me to wonder about a future in which our machines are actually better at showing up interpersonally than we are. If machines can be trained to strictly abide by the frameworks of nonviolent communication and compassionate, empathetic exchange, it makes me wonder if machines will become mediators that actually help us dialogue with other humans, enabling us to be more human to each other. The last update we'll talk about today is the use of large language models to write API queries. This technique has been in development in the labs at places like Meta and Google, but with the release of ChatGPT plugins, this technology is becoming available far sooner than expected. For those who don't know, APIs are ways for software applications to send information back and forth between one another. They leverage a shared set of instructions or conventions to make it easy and reliable to do this. Large language models, using their coding and understanding abilities, are able to ingest this documentation and use it to teach themselves to write API queries to use that tool. It is hard to oversell how game-changing this advancement alone is, because it will expand large language models' capabilities beyond merely just generating text. So imagine in the future you have to run a linear regression. Instead of going to a statistical analysis software to do it yourself, you actually can just ask ChatGPT to do it for you. Eventually, all tools will be accessible via AI agents for you to interact with. This means you'll be able to do anything from write code, look up facts, run complex math formulas, really anything that we use software and the internet to do today. And if you thought that any of these innovations were mind-blowing in isolation, just wait until they start to converge. As AI becomes more skilled and capable, while also becoming self-reflexive, compassionate, and value-abiding, while also gaining the ability to learn to use any tool, we must come to the startling conclusion that AI is about to become one of our most talented, proficient, and excellent research colleagues. So I know what you're thinking right now. let's directly address the elephant in the room. Right now, there's a lot of buzz about whether or not AI can replace jobs. In fact, there's a lot of research papers that are circulating on Twitter that suggest that up to 19% of workers may see up to 50% of their tasks impacted by AI. And a special category of high exposure jobs will see up to 100%. Spoiler alert, researchers are explicitly included in that high exposure category of jobs. But these stats do not mean that we need to resign ourselves to a future that we have mixed feelings about. The only observation that these papers are making is that workflows that center on language inputs and outputs will be most affected by large language models. So it's true that our workflows will inevitably be impacted, but this does not necessarily mean that our jobs will be impacted. Even as AI becomes more self-reflexive and gains the linguistic skills of PhDs, it cannot replace the human creativity and intuition to truly understand human behavior and preferences. AI is not embodied in the world like we are, so its learning can only ever asymptotically approximate an understanding of what it means to be human, because they're always already learning secondhand from us. Their training data consists of the imprint that we have left about our experiences of the world. You as an embodied human, you are a real being in real time in a real place among other real embodied humans. And that is something that cannot be replaced. The heart of your job is communicating about and understanding what humans care about, our desires, our motivations, and what we need to really thrive. That is the core of our job, not our workflows. So we really don't have to fear these advances. Instead, if we can learn to effectively collaborate with AI, we actually have a lot to gain. The future I see for our field is one in which AI changes our workflows for the better. Let's talk about some of those changes now. The first big impact we'll see from AI is automating the manual work of analysis. Unlike humans who have to linearly parse through data and use all sorts of tools to extend our working memory, post-it notes, highlighters, machines can just ingest massive amounts of text and process all that information quite accurately and efficiently. This is inevitably going to allow us to expand our scope as researchers, take more inputs into account during the analysis process, and ultimately improve the objectivity of our findings. Another key update is that AI will be able to co-author reports with us. I can't tell you how many times I've spent weeks staring at a blank page, not sure what story to tell that would really resonate with stakeholders. Or worse, endlessly wordsmithing a document just to get it to resonate quite right with a group. With AI, it can wordsmith documents for you, do your first draft, enabling you to get to a deliverable faster than ever before so that you can focus on driving collaborative decision making. Next, AI agents that use other tools will enable us to completely change our relationship to the data that we research. I worked really hard to learn R and Python, but in the future, the next generation of researchers will be able to use ChatGPT to do most of their work for them. This is actually going to allow us to have a much more playful and interactive and exploratory relationship to the data that we work with. Next, and most fundamentally, all of these changes mean that the definition of our field and how our methodologies work is going to start shifting below our feet. The bifurcation between qual and quant and the difference between moderated and unmoderated will slowly start to break down in a world in which AI can suddenly moderate tasks for us and we can get much greater qualitative insights at scale. These are just 4 examples of superpowers we'll see in the next year, and I'm so excited to see what else the field brings us. Today I've been so grateful to get to share all these updates with you, but there's also one crucial reason that it's so important to kickstart this important discourse at this moment in time. We as user researchers have an incredibly important perspective that AI desperately needs at this exact moment of its unfolding. It's true that AI will impact our workflows. At this point, it's inevitable. And if history has taught us anything, it's that resisting technological advancement is ultimately pointless. And if we don't take a seat at the table and start weighing in on the design of these tools, we could lose the ability to advocate for the designs that actually empower us to do our best work. Otherwise, the most important thing you can do is just stay informed and ensure that all AI systems everywhere are designed to be systems of care. As the new public utility of the internet, AI models are going to be embedded into most, if not all, products in the future. As the humanists who lobby for our users' best interests on a daily basis, we are already equipped with all of the raw skill we need to ensure that AI's future is one of care, empathy, and safety. And there is no action too small to participate. Even something as small as clicking the thumbs up and thumbs down buttons to create training data set for an AI is incredibly powerful. You're not just refining the AI, but you're actually participating in a political world-building act that determines how that AI will show up for others in the future. It's up to all of us to shape the future of UX research and the impact that AI has in the world. But before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with some practical next steps and resources. If you're ready to start using AI, I suggest you go to the website on the screen where you'll find a prompt book that will teach you how to do prompt engineering. I know it's got engineering in the title, but you researchers will discover that you are already very good at this exact skill. And this is what's going to enable you to actually start collaborating effectively with ChatGPT rather than just testing it and seeing what it can do. Otherwise, the most important thing you can do is just stay informed and continue to learn. For resources to support that, please visit the website. As researchers, we have special power. Let's all commit to using AI to enhance our workflows and expand our impact, and also ensure that AI everywhere is designed to be systems of care. Thank you.